Since 1983, FAME has helped business and education work for Maine. Contact the authority, the Finance Authority of Maine. You're watching Mainebiz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
Welcome back. We just spoke about lobster fishing, but the Gulf of Maine has a much more diverse bounty. With us to discuss some of Maine's other fishing sectors are Dana Temple, Chair of the Maine Scallop Advisory Council, Clint Goodenow of the Maine Clammers Association, and Gary Libby, ground fisherman in Port Clyde. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for being here today. We've had the first segment of our show. We talked about the lobster industry, which I think people know a lot about that, and I wanted to come to the Fisherman's Forum to show that there's a larger piece to the larger seafood industry in Maine, fishing industry in Maine, and want to make sure we had those sectors covered. Gary, I want to start with you, and we're going to talk about ground fishing. I want you to kind of give us how was last year, give us the kind of the state of the ground fishery, how things are going. And I know that, too, in May of last year, the New England Fishery Management Council set up the change from the days at sea model to a new sector model. Can you talk more about that and the impact of that?
Yeah, that's right. We switched the models. This was a new program for the Northeast. It's called the Catch Share Program. It's implemented through sectors, which is groups of fishermen in cooperatives who pool their catch together, and they divide it up the way that they see fit. The way we did ours was we actually, what you brought to the table is what you got, and we stay within our catch limits by watching what we catch.
Within the catch limit as the total group?
As a total group. We have the catches in the group, but all individuals within the group use that catch. But it's implemented through our group, in our situation, I can say, by what you brought to the table is what you use.
So was last year the first year for that?
Yes, first time ever.
What's been the impact, you think, so far?
I've done better, but I can't say that that's the whole industry. I think some folks are out there, and there's a lot of newspaper articles that are pretty upset about sectors. Some guys with very low allocations weren't able to fish very much.
Right.
Kind of a middle-of-the-road guy. I'm not a big boat. I'm not a small boat. So I had a decent amount of catch. I went out, I managed my catch, caught a certain type of fish earlier in the season, waited, worked on fish later in the season, did a lot of thinking about what I was going to do before I did it. I think ground fishing has really come under strict regulation because of it. But I think a lot
more strategies that are involved at the individual boat level to.
Well, it's quite a bit of strategy.
Yeah.
You gotta. It's like a business plan. You really got to pay attention to what's going on.
And then when we come back, I'm going to talk to you more a little bit later about how that impacted bycatch, and that was part of the whole initiative, incentive for this whole process. I think so. Okay, I want to move to scalloping now, and let's talk about that. So, what is the status of that industry? Tell me. We were talking before the segment about how many licenses there are versus how many are actually active scallopers in Maine.
There are 800 plus licenses issued in the state of Maine, of which a little over 200 are actually fishing on a season-to-season basis. That means that 3/4 of them are latent licenses sitting out there waiting to fish that could start fishing anytime they wanted to. It's a real issue for us in terms of exit and entry ratios, as far as I'm concerned anyway, as chair of the council. It's the one place where we don't really have any control. We've done a lot to, within the industry, to close areas, to put in gear restrictions, to limit the amount of fish time that we can fish, days at sea.
But does the council want more fishermen in, or do you need to be careful in terms of managing the stock?
Long term, if we're successful in managing the stock and getting the resource back where we want it to, of course the idea is to put fishermen back to work. I mean, that's all we're trying to do.
And how is that management going now?
Going well. It's going well. We're in the right direction. These are techniques that we're using are the same techniques that have been used to manage scallop fisheries around the world. I mean, from fisheries as small as the Isle of Man, for which there are several representatives here this weekend, all the way out to the federal level offshore. When you close areas, when you limit the number of days at sea they can fish, when you have gear restrictions, that brings these fisheries back and puts more fishermen on the water at a very profitable level.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to come back and talk to you more about kind of the marketing strategies too with scallops and what you're learning from the lobster industry and how to kind of brand that whole thing. And some of the things you're doing in Port Clyde too. I mean, some interesting kind of things that everybody's trying to figure out how do we really market this thing and get the best value from it. So we're going to talk more about that. All right, Clint, clamming. So, what's it like out there right now? What was last year like, and what do you think is going to happen this year in terms of the clamming industry?
Well, because Maine has a long coastline, so we have areas that probably did really well last year.
Yeah.
Some areas that suffered, and I mean on the whole, the numbers for the year we're down quite a bit from say 2002, 2003. I think we're down to almost half what we produced.
Down to pounds?
In pounds per year. And I mean, I think I just heard a number in the other room that was around a $60 million industry for the state.
Right.
It's still important, and I think we're doing some things to get us back on the right track. For a while, as far as fishermen ourselves, we didn't pay attention to anything that was going on. We just went to work, went home, and then when things started to happen and there was a lot of closures due to pollution, we started to get involved and see what caused these. And now we're starting to correct them, and hopefully we can bring this industry back up to where it once was.
Is that part of the answer, or for the clamming industry? And I think of all the fishing industry in Maine, all of them are very independent fishermen and all, but they obviously are starting to group themselves around and starting to be a little more cooperative. But the clamming, I've always thought, man, they're the most independent. Are they starting to actually come together as a group?
Yeah, there's pockets of us that are all starting to come together. I mean, it's, like you said, very independent. There's a lot of them that don't want to have anything to do with it, think we're wrong, but somebody's got to step up and do something, or it'll just go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the farther we go and the more towns we go to, the more shellfish committees we talk to, the more people see this, and our association grows every year, and so hopefully we're on the right track.
So let me ask just any of you to jump in on this. We have a few seconds just left in this segment, but in terms of organizing, are the fishing industry being able to organize around their sectors, scalloping and ground fishing and clamming as an example? Are they coming together more now?
Most definitely. When I started this whole thing as the chair of the council, there was a tremendous amount of opposition to the point where members on the council who had joined the council to try to make a difference refused even to have a say in the votes. They wouldn't vote on the things that they just really decided on. Now people are very active and very positive.
Yeah.
There's always a few, like Gary says, that don't want to participate and don't feel it's worthwhile, but by and large, people are on board with this thing.
Okay.
They want to see this get better.
Yeah, it's what really scares people when it comes to joining groups and cooperatives is the unknown factor, not knowing it's a different type of way of doing business, and in not knowing how it's going to turn out really is kind of scary for a lot of folks.
And they have to be able to see that they're actually going to be able to affect their bottom line, just like any other business that they join.
That's what it's all about. It's the bottom line.
We're going to have to wrap the segment right here, but we're going to keep you around for an afterthoughts. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, about politics and all that kind of good stuff, so hang with us. You can catch more of this discussion about clamming, scalloping, and ground fishing in our exclusive Afterthought segment, seen only on the web. Just go to mainebiz.biz and click on the Mainebiz Sunday link. We'll be right back.
Mainebiz Sunday is made possible in part by funding provided by the Finance Authority of Maine.